This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good morning to everyone. It is September 24th, and we are here, 2020. We're here to enjoy the virtual conference of the Worksite Wellness Council of Louisville, and also give us a chance to celebrate some of the award winners, well, all of the award winners, all of you who applied for Worksite Wellness Council awards this year. So we thank you for that. It's been certainly a unique year, and we've got unique times right now in Louisville. So we are certainly happy to be able to join together and have a conversation about the concept of mindfulness and worksite wellness. So my name is Matt Schwartz, and I'm the chair of the council. And on behalf of the board and really everybody that's been involved, we're excited to have you here and happy to have you here. Again, I just touched on some housekeeping notes in terms of if you do have questions as we go through the initial conversation or presentation, there's a chat box in the upper right corner, the little circle, kind of a, well, chat box, a little chat circle. Feel free to click on that. Just for the purpose of keeping things quieter, we did mute everybody at the moment. You do actually have the ability to unmute yourself. Down at the bottom center, you scroll down, it should pop up some controls, and one of them is a microphone that you can, it says mic, you can click on it. It should have a red circle now, and it'll click and it'll be a green circle. So just make sure your background noise is gone when you're ready to jump in with a question. So with that said, as I said, it's exciting for those who have applied and will receive awards today. So we're looking forward to that. But first and foremost, we have a really great speaker, somebody that we want to introduce now, and most of you know Tori Murden McClure, have heard her name because she was the first woman, first American to row solo and unassisted across the Atlantic Ocean. So while we think we've all done big things and hard things, she's probably got us beat. And it's a perfect conversation related to what we're talking about today in terms of making waves, the mindfulness ripple effect. She's currently president of Spalding University in Louisville. Excuse me. And while she has that the distinction of first American and woman to row across the Atlantic, she was also the first one to travel over to the geographic South Pole skiing. So you want to talk about how you stay warm in a cold ice shelf, you can ask her. She worked as the chaplain at Boston City Hospital at a point. She's been a policy assistant to the mayor of Louisville, director of homeless shelter, I should assume it may be in Louisville, and worked for a period of time with Muhammad Ali. So she's an accomplished mountaineer, which I'm personally jealous of, completed major climbs on several continents, graduated from Smith College, master's in divinity from Harvard Divinity School, JD from U of L Brandeis School of Law, and a Master of Fine Arts in Writing from Spalding. And her book, Pearl in the Storm, was published by HarperCollins, and her husband, Mac, they both live in Louisville. And again, I'm going to very enthusiastically pass over the baton to Tori. And again, I'm going to mention, if you want to, on your screen, you should be able to click the box that says, right now it might say view everyone, but you can click a drop down right in the center of your screen and say click on who's talking, and it will then should make Tori front and center. So Tori, if you want to unmute, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to confess up front that I do not intend, I was originally scheduled to do a 45-minute kind of written address and then take questions. I'm just not in that space today, and I'm going to honor where I am. I know most of us are in Louisville right now, and I can see the barricades at 3rd and Broadway from my office. And the 2 police officers that were shot last night were shot about 500 yards from where I'm sitting. So it's a time when we all need to pause. And I know from our students, Spalding is a diverse community of learners, and about 30% of our students, our undergrads, are Black. So there's a real polarized sense. We've got plenty of white students who are traumatized and hurt today, but I was trying to explain to my husband the way the white community is taking the verdict and the way the Black community is taking the verdict are 2 very different things, and we need to recognize that white supremacy is real and has been real for 400 years, and that the system is broken, and that we need to be mindful about that and be prepared to thinking about ways to fixing it. I do not have a sense that our law enforcement folks are evil, nor do I have the sense that our communities of color are in some ways less than. So we've got a lot of work to do in repairing the damage. So just wanted to start there and recognize that we're in a tender spot, because I'm going to leave that space and go into returning to the snarky, smart aleck person that I generally am. And I don't want folks to take that as not being aware of our current state. So I had a great, so your title is Making Waves, the Mindfulness Ripple Effect. I'm really good at making waves. I can't say I'm particularly good at mindfulness, although rowing is a very meditative sport. And the 2 sports in which I engage currently are both incredibly antisocial. I scull on the Ohio River, and it's naturally socially distanced, and I roller ski in Cherokee Park, which is basically cross-country skiing on wheels. And I just look pretty scary, so people stay away from me. And those are 2 great sports for an introvert. You can't spend 2.5 months alone in a rowboat if you're not an introvert. And so when I need to practice mindfulness, it's when I have to attend a cocktail party. And COVID has spared me from that for quite some time. And I have just enough social skills to manage this pretty well. So my world right now isn't really all that hard, although the leading an institution of higher learning and just figuring out how to lead in this environment has been challenging. And I, like many folks, have a certain amount of self-doubt. I am certainly reacting to lots of things, and I don't know how well I'm leading through some of these things. I had a great professor in divinity school in Buddhism, and he was a brilliant scholar and tremendous human being. And he said something that stuck with me. He said, I meditate, I light candles, I drink green tea, and still I want to slap people sometimes. And that sense of just allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling and be who you are in this moment, I think is really important. That we're all on that roller coaster of ups and downs, and when you're down, letting your circle of accountability and support know that you're down, so folks can keep an eye out for you and lift you up if they're able to do that, or just check on you if they can't. I think is really important. Sleep hygiene is underrated in our society. Indeed, in medical schools and other places, there's a certain amount of pride taken in putting students through a certain amount of sleep deprivation. I think that's very poor form on the part of educators. That I'm currently serving as the acting board chair for the NCAA, which is a whole other story. But I'm a woman leading a Division III school, and by the bylaws, the chair of the board must be a Division I president, and it's always a president from a school that has football. So Spalding has no football. I'm a woman. I'm at Division III. I can only be the acting chair, but I've been acting for much longer than I thought I would be acting. But the NCAA was really wanting coaches to take seriously the notion of athletes' mental health and the importance of sleep, particularly for that 18 to 22-year-old that still has a developing brain, and was getting no traction until they started to describe sleep as a performance-enhancing activity. And then once they started to describe it as a performance-enhancing activity, everyone got really interested all of a sudden. And so we're doing a better job of allowing student athletes to get some sleep. I'd love to open it up for questions right away. And I've got a whole range of notes of things I was going to talk about this morning, but I would love to hear questions. And if you want to unmute and throw them at me or put them in the chat, that'd be awesome. I'd like to go wherever you want to go.
So I tell you what I'll do is I'll say to folks, if you want to unmute yourself, again, at the bottom of your screen, if you scroll down, you should hover down and then find a couple of circles that pop up. One of them is a microphone, it says mic. And if you just click on that mic button, it should unmute you. If we don't get any questions, I'm going to unmute everybody, and that's a little dangerous. But let's start this way. Let's start and see if anybody can unmute and go ahead and just ask whatever questions that you'd like to ask of Tori.
And I'm used to students. There are no holds barred.
And I'm checking, I'm monitoring the chat too. If you're not, for those of you who perhaps aren't be able to unmute, if you want to ask a question. I'm also used to students, Tori, and they tend to go radio silent sometimes too. Right?
That's okay.
Tori,
you and I are both patient.
Tori, let me start actually with a question, because you started with obviously the things that are happening in Louisville, and you mentioned about your students. I'm curious, what is the, and you just said you had 30% that are African American, Black. What is the sentiment? Fear, anger, dismay? I mean, how would you describe what you sense, from talking to students?
Obviously, I'm hearing from the students. Candace can share that students don't usually reach out to presidents when they're happy. They reach out to presidents when they're angry, and so the sense I'm feeling is anger, rage, despair, hopelessness, and even our white students are feeling that sense of how can we create change? How can we make things happen? And the Ruth Bader Ginsburg comes to mind of the folks who really make a difference. It's step after step, incremental difference. And I'm a student of history. I love the notion that somehow there's going to be this revolution that changes everything for the better. Revolutions typically don't change everything for the better. What changes everything for the better is that step-by-step move toward more equity, more diversity, more inclusion, greater justice. And those things are hard won. And it requires folks who are willing to get up every morning and fight all day for the greater good. And polarizing conversations, I see it. I've been part of the protests downtown, not last night, but and my husband's on the Police Foundation board. So there have been plenty of, and we're a mixed household. I'm a Democrat, my husband's a Republican, and there have been vehement arguments in our house in a great spousal sort of way. But that notion of we've got to get out of our echo chambers, we've got to be willing to engage with one another. There's a story, the last 20 years I've spoken to the Governor Scholars Program, and some of you may be Governor Scholars because, I'm old enough now that there are Governor Scholars who have grandchildren. So I'm like, wow, okay. But I tell a story about skiing to the South Pole, and there were 7 days when we traveled in whiteout conditions, and I don't have them with me now, but I put on a pair of glacier glasses. Just imagine these are sunglasses instead of regular glasses, and I was skiing along. And my second that day was Colonel Ron Milnarek of the U.S. Air Force, and he said, "Tori, you're veering right." I'm like, "No, I'm not veering right. I checked my compass." And how you navigate in a whiteout is you take your compass and you look for any landmark due south. So I checked my compass. My landmark was perfect. It was due south. It was a bit of sastrugi, a bump in the snow, 180 degrees due south, and I skied right for it, skied right for it, skied right for it. Colonel Milnarek said, "Tori, you're veering right." I'm like, "That's it. He's a dead man. I'm going to have to kill him. I don't veer right." And I used to tell the story by saying, "I don't veer right. I'm a real Democrat. I don't veer right. It doesn't happen." I turned around to give Colonel Milnarek my very best Murden death stare and realized my landmark off in the mist was just a spot of frost on my glasses. But I stopped using that line of "I'm a Democrat, I don't veer right," because I could watch the audience of young scholars turn off the light switch. You know, every Republican student in the room turned off the light switch and stopped listening to me because I had identified myself as a Democrat, and therefore I was not worthy of their attention. And so it's only been in the last year that I've put that line back in my speech and paused to say, I have now identified every Republican in the room because I can see the lights go out. I can see you decide you're not going to listen to me. And we've got to stop doing that. We've got to find ways to reach across boundaries. We've got to find ways to reach across borders. And we've got to realize the danger of the echo chambers we're living in. And I think that is the greatest peril faced by the United States right now, is the sources of news are so shifted in opposing directions that we're not even willing to hear another person's point of view. And again, Ruth Bader Ginsburg comes to mind because she was able to maintain a friendship with Anton Scalia. And I'm not sure my mind is that big, but I am willing certainly to entertain the notion that everyone who has an opposing point of view isn't stupid or crazy. So I did not intend to have that become so political, but that's where my head is right now.
Well, and in speaking of your head, and a lot of folks, there are some questions coming in now too about in that mindfulness sense and in the way that you're framing this. I think several folks are looking at what you might be doing or what resources are available to help students or even your faculty and staff with that mindfulness and trying to get through, be it the pandemic with the layer of, you know, injustice that's going on. I think, and a lot of folks are asking too, what might be some of the mindfulness programs and wellness, or just maybe some of the things that you're looking at as the leader of what is a large company and large institute. What are some of the things that you're providing? You know, I know for those of, you know, not that I was meaning to jump in and be an interviewer, but I'm an adjunct at Ivy Tech, and that's Indiana's community college program, and we're getting a lot of resources that are being given to us and how to help students and even ourselves. But what are some of the things that you're seeing at Spalding that you've been instituting there to help out your team?
Yeah, our first response was, you know, to COVID, and just making sure that every supervisor brought together their team at least once a week, even just for a little huddle of how are things going. Our response to the announcement yesterday, we had processing sessions in each of our residence halls. I made an appearance at both. Students were still, I was too early in the day, I think, when I popped in. Students were still gathering. They weren't really quite ready to talk. They're still kind of sorting through their own thoughts. We've got some support sessions going on today with social workers and psychologists and other faculty volunteers for students, faculty, and staff to share thoughts, share feelings, share where they are. And I think it's really gatherings, whether they're virtual or actual, of human beings reaching out to one another. and in a way that's open has been important.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of strife. And for those of you, I am monitoring the chat, but it doesn't have to just be Tori, Matt, and I. If anybody wants to listen, let's see another.
Well, there is one other question, which I think is a great one. If you were mayor for the day,
I was just going to ask that.
what would you like to, what would you like to see changed, or what might your approach be? Not to take away. I mean, obviously, Mayor Fisher's in a very challenging spot at the moment.
Yeah, I'm typically not someone who dodges questions. I usually charge right on in. In this particular sense, I feel like I might be passing judgment on Mayor Fisher more than I would like. I think our challenge is not today. I think, like most light-skinned Americans, when I looked at the Breonna Taylor case initially, I started from her death and worked back until I could find context that made sense of it, instead of starting at her birth and going forward and realizing all the injustices she had faced that led up to her death. And it's too simple for us to look at 3 police officers and try to blame them for what is a systemic racist system, whether it's in government, economics, religious faith, militarization of our police force, social ills. It's a bigger thing. It's not the fault of these 3 officers. It's all of our faults, and we've got to find ways to accept some responsibility for the greater whole and the greater good. So I don't know that it's that incremental change that will move us from where we are to where we should be. That I like to talk about the gap between human beings and the potential of human beings, and that we've got to fill that gap with goodwill and hard work. It's not so simple as you should have fired the police officers day one and then let the court sort it out. Although that might have been what I would have done at the time. I'm a lawyer, so I tend to look at the law and understand the intent of the law and say, yeah, I'm going to fire them even though the law says I can't, because I know the law is going to give them recourse. But that it would have changed the point of view of, is it just the white people in charge? And are the white people always going to give the white people a bye? Is what I'm hearing from our students. And it's a hard question.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions, I know you've talked about, you're continuing in your athleticism, but how this is going to take you back to your preparations. Like, what were some of the things that in the context of mindfulness, or just being preparatory for rowing across the Atlantic, or for some, in your climbing feats, what are some of the things or steps or part of your process in getting yourself prepared for that?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, and I feel like I owe you all an apology. My head is so with students right now that I feel like I'm answering for 18-year-olds and not the grown adults I'm seeing before me. But that often when we think about an athletic achievement, we're thinking about the physical preparation, and that's absolutely important. But I've encountered mountaineers who were much physically stronger, much fitter human beings who fell by the wayside because it's a mental game, and most of life, if not all of life, is a mental game and a test of fortitude that's not about muscle and bone, but a test of fortitude that's about will and a willingness to persevere, and a willingness to push forward and fall forward. And that ripple effect of what good intent means. I spent the last week on conference calls with the Carter Center in Atlanta with a program on mental health for journalists and journalists writing about mental health. And something that was said a few years ago by one of my colleagues was, it doesn't matter, and he had his own mental health struggles, and was describing moments when he was beyond the norm, beyond the reach of normal human behavior. And he said, you can always sense respect. No matter how far out on the island you are, you can always sense respect when someone who is coming to help respects you. And I do think that's an element that's missing in our current interaction, that willingness to view another human being with a sense of respect, and that they can feel that. And that has nothing to do with preparing to row across the ocean, but respecting the task and respecting the need to do your homework with your head. Before I rowed across the ocean, I read every book I could get my hands on about folks who had crossed the ocean. There weren't very many who had done it in a rowboat, and the ones who had, I thought were a little off their rocker. And so I had a friend who was hospitalized on a mental health ward, and he goes, Tori, do you think I'm crazy? And I said, I rowed a boat across the ocean. Do you think anyone's going to take my word for it? If you aren't? So
well, that's
yeah.
And no one's actually, now my inquisitive nature in that, talk to us a little bit more about your work maybe with the Carter Institute. A lot of the rationale that those of us on the board, when we were talking about the theme for this year in this Making Waves in a Mindfulness Ripple Effect, really is about how mental health, and we did not, so it would have been, and Matt, you could correct, I feel like it was probably about this time last year that we were coming up with the theme for the conference, because it would have been in May. And who knew at that time that the 2020 vision would be how much and how important mental health is, giving everything that everyone is going through right now. But so I don't know if there's maybe a little bit more insight that you can give us into what some of those conversations that you're having from the Institute. I think a lot of people would be interested in that.
Yeah, so Rosalind Carter has tried to reduce the stigma associated with mental illness for her entire, well over 50 years. And she started a program for journalists to teach journalists how to write about mental health issues so that they weren't increasing the stigma. And I think it's really, it translates to our current system in terms of race relations, how we speak about one another, how we phrase things, that words matter. When we describe someone who has died by suicide, if we say they commit suicide, I mean, commit implies a crime. They have committed a crime, and indeed suicide was a crime for a very long time and still is in some jurisdictions. But that notion of died by their own hand, died by suicide. We say someone is schizophrenic. Well, we don't say someone is cancer when they're sick with cancer. You know, they have schizophrenia. And if you speak about mental health issues the way we speak about physical health issues, it conveys the notion that someone is sick and can get better. When someone is goes down with a cardiac issue, you don't step over them and say they're just looking for attention. When someone is having a mental health crisis, often we ascribe it to a lack of willpower, and that is just not, it's just not real. And we need to be clearer about how we address mental health issues in this country. I think race is probably a more pressing issue at the moment, but COVID is certainly writ large the mental health crises that are leading to domestic violence and suicide and other issues.
Well, and I think we actually this year have what we're hoping is a unique year in a workplace agility award that we have several recipients from, and we had asked them at the time to pose the question, what are you doing for employees that's in a COVID related sense? And quite a bit of it is, again, mental health, and there are a lot of issues with substance abuse, but again, trying a little bit operational, and I do have follow-up that'll get you back to, I think, especially around words matter and where I know your headspace is today. But what are some of the just quickly operational or tactical things that maybe are happening at the university, just with regards to students and, again, faculty and staff that you're helping out, and maybe offering people like EAPs and things like that?
Yeah, fortunately, Spalding, we are very strong in mental health. We've got one of the premier clinical psychology programs, certainly in the Southeast, if not in the country. We've got a wonderful school of social work that is all about these issues. So I'm surrounded by faculty who are far more adept than I in addressing these issues and finding ways to help people find their resilience, find their hope. And I think at the end of the day, it really is about leaving the window open for hope and leaving the doors open for hope, that there is a better time to come. We are not, I was joking yesterday with the NCAA leadership that I really wish Orson Welles would stop narrating 2020. For those who are too young to understand the reference, Orson Welles did a radio show that was titled War of the Worlds, where aliens were invading and people took it as real. And 2020 feels like it's been narrated by Orson Welles, and you just can't imagine another bad thing around the corner to make it worse. And we have an election coming up.
You had mentioned, so words matter, and I'm seeing a lot. I have a number of friends who are journalists, and some are even part of the writing programs at your school. The words matter. I know that that's even as of yesterday with another group that I'm involved with. They were putting out, well, what statement do we put out given what happened yesterday? But how are you? And this might be a fun one for those who are not as familiar with you. Words do matter, and you've always had a bit of a, I know you have but you tend to have a no filter. So how is it that you're finding you're using your choices of words in helping, not just our community, but in every situation, where you're finding yourself, even like today?
Yeah, and I haven't been very filtered this morning. And I do think, I absolutely live in a place of white privilege, that I wasn't born into a privileged space, but we often have our first years do what's called a privilege walk, where we all line up side by side, and then questions are asked, and you take a step forward if you had that privilege, and you take a step back if you didn't. And often, if I put myself in the space of an 18-year-old, I'm well at the back of the line. And the first time I did this with students, the faculty leader asked, "And how do you feel?" And I should have kept my mouth shut, but if you were in a 100-yard race, how do you feel about your starting point? And I unfilteredly said, "I'd win anyway." But that sense of today, right now, both in my position as president of Spalding and as a woman who rowed a boat across an ocean, I can get away with things that most people can't. I can get away with things that only a tiny fraction of women can get away with saying. Because I'm 6 feet tall and I'm built like a man, I can say things that most women cannot say and get away with. I'll give you a smart aleck example. I was at an NCAA convention before anybody knew me at the NCAA, and I kept hearing the men's teams and the girls' teams, and the men's teams and the girls' teams, and the men's teams and the girls' teams, and I just was about to lose my last cracker. I stood up to my full 6 feet height, and I said, gentlemen, I can help you with this problem you seem to be having. If the female is over the age of 18, this is the woman, these are the girls. Do you have any questions? And most women can't get away with that. And someone asked, what was the best thing about rowing across the ocean? And I said, I can cry in public and no one thinks I'm weak.
This is a really good one. This is going to be a little divergent, but you mentioned that you're an extreme noted introvert, and I don't know your policies, and if you guys are on campus or what, I know a lot of school, we're in this virtual blended world, but what are some of the, a lot of people have moved out of the office environment. They don't have that day-to-day. And I know I have gone in waves with my isolation as an extreme extrovert. So I'm completely opposite. But what are some of the things that you might offer, as more from the employee side of like how to encourage folks or just even some of the things I know you mentioned you were doing weekly team meetings, but as we continue to see this is going to probably last unfortunately longer, what are in addition to those that you've done, what are some of the other things that maybe you're projecting you'll continue to do to offer some form of environment to faculty and students?
I think the more we can encourage every layer of an organization to exercise responsibility for looking after and looking out for their colleagues, the better. I'm feeling the weight of being the leader of an institution and knowing I don't have the answers, nor do I have the capacity to care for everyone in the organization, and that words matter, and that every time I send a message, I get kind of a wave of displeasure from the folks who weren't served by that particular message. And I'm writing things, by committee now, and still am having the sense of, I'm not particularly offended or injured by it. I see it as folks it's an example of the angst and pain and distress people are feeling in their isolation. And while I am a world-class introvert, and you would think I would be happy as a pig in mud, there are things that give me joy that I am not doing that I would typically do if I were really, truly having a good time. I have a fantastic workshop in the basement of my home, and typically in a work week, there are a couple hours in the basement that I would be building something or creating something, and I have not been there since March. And it's because I feel the need to engage in this format as much as I can, and we've all lost the boundaries on our calendars. Weekdays and weekends run together. I'm sending messages to colleagues at 10 o'clock at night, which was not my habit prior to this. I was one of those bosses who prided myself on not communicating on the weekend and not communicating after hours, because that's unfair. Because it forces folks with other obligations to respond to me, and I think we need to re-establish those boundaries. Obviously, we can't probably do it in the midst of a state of emergency, but they're healthy boundaries. The sense of work-life balance. There is no work-life balance right now. I think for anyone, and for those who are privileged to have jobs.
Right. Yeah, I recently read, or it might have even been on a story with something with NPR. It's amazing how you take in so much and you're not quite sure anymore where it comes from. But they were saying that we're not working at home. We're no longer working at home. We're at home, like we're living at work now. For those of us who are, at home. But so I think that's definitely a good observation to realize that the 24/7, 365, it's really good to shut that off. Are there any, so maybe, and please folks, like any other questions, because we are kind of closing in on the wrap up, getting closer to a little closer to 11 here local. But what might be some tactical things, like you said, maybe not emailing people at 10 o'clock at night, or if you do, saying please don't answer before, have you been trying to think of any really things of that nature that you might be able to offer?
Yeah, I think I'd like to, I feel like I've been super dark and heavy today, which is not how I want to be. And perhaps if I just step back and think about what would I have spoken to this group about prior to COVID, prior to social unrest. And I probably would have talked about kind of most of my leadership philosophy comes from backcountry expeditions. And when I think about that world, there's a sort of framework that comes to mind. I talk about expedition behavior, which is really compassion and attending to the people who are on your expedition and doing your part and trying not to do everybody else's part at the same time, making sure everyone has the dignity of being able to do what they can for the greater good. And that expedition behavior is really a sense of being a good citizen in a particular environment or in a particular organization. Next up comes competence, and we can never be too competent. And I think many of us are feeling extra incompetent at the moment because the world is so different from what we were accustomed to. And we don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to that world because it was unjust. But what is the new normal? I don't know. I think it's what's the next normal, and then what's the next normal after that. But growing some competence in conversations about race are going to be crucial, particularly for those of us who are white, to recognize that we must master the language. We cannot leave it for others to do. It is on us to be part of this conversation. Communication is key, and white people are silent because we don't know what to say. And I remember the week George Floyd was killed, I had a Black member of my team insisting I put out a statement, and I said, I don't want to put out a statement. I want to hurt people. I mean, I don't. And I was watching all these statements from other white leaders and just feeling ashamed. James Baldwin wrote in Notes of a Native Son, he wrote about his father and the experience of the weight of white people. And I thought I understood that phrase, but when I watched the video of George Floyd's death, the weight of white people took on a whole new metric. But learning how to communicate on these difficult issues, or learning to just go make the mistakes, be unfiltered, get smacked for it, let your community watch you being humbled and step up again and try again is probably an exercise of leadership that everyone needs to see. You can have excellent judgment, but judgment has to be paired with decision making. And we all know folks who are fabulous judges of issues or character who never get off the couch and never participate, so their judgment is useless. And then we all know decision makers who don't have good judgment, and the best leaders are the ones who develop good judgment and make decisions. And if you make the wrong one, you can go back and fix it typically. A skill that I learned in the backcountry is comfort with uncertainty. I literally test off the scale on comfort with uncertainty, which is serving me extraordinarily well in this moment. Right. And tolerance for adversity. We all experience adversity, and we are all, the difference today is we're all experiencing it together and at the same time. Typically, some of us are up while others are down. Self-awareness, we're all learning more about ourselves than we ever knew before, and be gentle with yourself. It is perfectly reasonable to feel down. It is perfectly reasonable to feel depressed. It's perfectly reasonable to be feeling whatever it is you're feeling, and don't beat yourself up about it. And I guess I thought I was headed to lighter territory, but it's all circling back to dark. I do have a funny thing to talk about. So
yeah, go.
I wrote a book about rowing a boat alone across the ocean, and two artistic folks came to my office 5 or 6 years ago and asked if they could have the rights to my book to write a musical. Now, I've already told you I'm an introvert. I don't want anything to do with a musical. And Woman Alone in a Rowboat just screams musical, right? And so I thought I was never going to see these people again. They were dreamers. I gave them my permission. They're like, no, seriously, what would it take to get the rights to your book? And I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm a lawyer. You have my permission. And they went back to New York, and I thought that would be the end of it. They have written a musical. It is unbelievably good. How lucky am I that I gave something away, retained no rights, no monetary interest, and it's not embarrassing. The musical was supposed to have its world premiere at the Williamstown Theater Festival, a very prestigious regional venue, in August, but of course COVID took that out. And Dawn Landis, one of the writers, is about to next week she will release an album with a music. It's titled Row, R-O-W, which is the same as the musical. And I think Candace or Matt are going to send out YouTube links to 2 of the songs from the musical. But it's charming. It goes to some dark places, as my book goes to some dark places, but it ends up in this really, charming space where Tori's about to step out of the boat into the arms of the man she loves. And so far, I'm living happily ever after.
That's good. Yeah, we will. Just so everyone knows, we will. This is obviously being recorded, and then once we have this done, we'll send out a follow-up email, pretty much probably actually to our entire list of membership, but and we'll include those YouTube links in that with us. One quick last question, and this is a good one, and I think it'd be interesting to, not just as a leader, how much vulnerability do you project or should you project, but you had mentioned too that you are obviously a female in leadership. So how much are you actually okay, again, being an introvert, how are you okay with offering up your own vulnerability?
Yeah, obviously I can only view that from my lens, and my lens says I am incredibly vulnerable and tell people, can't wait to tell people about my feet of clay. Some of that is because I have the notoriety of some accomplishment, so I can say, oh, please look at my feet of clay, or oh, here, let me fall off the pedestal that you have created for me. So I feel extra liberty to be vulnerable. And of course, I have this fantasy that I'm so warm and fuzzy and approachable, and I know that's a lie. But I like to think of myself as warm and fuzzy and approachable, but I think people are still scared of me.
No, that's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll leave it there.
I do have just one kind of a closing. Someone had actually posed to you, I think, but the entire group. And I would love if the question was about having virtual happy hours and other virtual events. And Laura, to that point, if you want to connect with me, you can just email us at the info at Worksite Wellness. I'm in the many things that I do, an event planner too. So if you need help with doing other things in this virtual world that we're in, I have ideas for you, and I'd love for other folks to share that. But I'll ask you kind of a closing question. You'd mentioned that the expedition behavior is that of compassion, And this will be able to, I think, hopefully bring you back to the where we are today, and physically, mentally, geographically. Our city has long been touted, and we like to tout ourselves as the compassionate city. How, just so what are some of your thoughts? Like, are we really? And if we are, how do leaders like you, or just leaders of, those who are on here, like, you're talking to a lot of HR professionals, how do we maintain and increase maybe even that compassion for others?
Yeah, I think I approach compassion from my divinity school background, and of course break it down by its etymology, which is the word passion is from the Latin pati, which means suffering, and the prefix cum means with, the willingness to suffer with another. I think that too many folks, when they hear the word compassion, are thinking sympathy or other things that are way softer than true compassion requires. The willingness to suffer with another. This city is suffering, and we are suffering with the pain of our colleagues, the pain of our students, the pain of our fellow and sister citizens. The willingness to suffer with another is the willingness to lower your guard, lower your fences, and approach another. And I do think having that torch of respect, of being able to respect the person that you are willing to suffer with, matters a great deal. So it's quite popular these days to make fun of compassion. I think the folks who do that have not bothered to truly step back and understand its intent. The intent is to step off the pedestals, set aside the privilege, set aside the trappings of leadership, and get down on the ground if that's what's required to meet the needs of others. And that seems like a great space to end. I'll hang around for a while. There may be an opportunity for me to, when I end commencements, I end with the top 10 things I think I know, but I'm not quite in a smart aleck space, and I didn't bring them with me, and I've only thought of 8 of the 10. But
if you think about them, yeah, feel free to email them, and we'll pass them along, and we can put it in our summation email when we follow up with everybody. But I think I'm not seeing any other questions. Thank you so much for your time. I know, Matt, I'll even just kind of bounce it back to you to bounce it over to Rebecca. But
yeah,
thanks so much.
So obviously, I mean, we really appreciate Tori taking the time to share a couple of her thoughts about her experience, but also just, again, obviously, as she said at the outset, keeping it real, because it's a strange time and a challenging time for Louisville and the country, et cetera, to deal with some of the issues that we are. So we really appreciate you taking the time to share yourself with us this morning. And again, our transition now is over to more of a celebration of those folks that took the time and have put in the effort, certainly over the past year and probably much longer, to develop a worksite wellness program at their company. So I am going to ask Rebecca Fries, who's our awards co-chair and the health and well-being coordinator at a program coordinator at LG&E. Rebecca, are you able to unmute yourself, and because I'm not sure what caller number you are. So let's see if we can get her to join audio. And if not, let me see here. Well, so I have you listed, Becca, as on the web, but you may be another caller.
See if she's one. She was one of our early ones, so she could either be 1 or 2.
Okay, well, I'm happy to try that. Let's see. So Now, so I've just unmuted caller number 1. Becca, is that you?
I'm feeling a Wayne's World sketch here with camera 1, camera 2.
I'm going to
I
try
think caller
number 2.
1 is Alex.
Okay.
Hi, can you
Okay,
hear
so
me?
how about, yes, is that you, Becca?
That's me.
Great.
All right. There's the
found it.
baton. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Matt. And again, thank you, Tori, for your words today. I think everyone kind of took what you said to heart and learned some great perspective today. So now we're going to move on and switch gears and celebrate our award winners. Our awards are based on the nationally recognized CDC Worksite Wellness Scorecard that was updated in 2019. Points are assigned for proven health promotion strategies in key areas of organizational support, tobacco control, nutrition, physical activity, chronic disease management, stress management, occupational health and safety, preventive vaccines and diseases, and community resources. This year, we included all 154 questions in the updated scorecard, which includes 4 new models featuring evidence-based strategies on emerging worksite health topics such as sleep and fatigue, alcohol and other substance abuse, musculoskeletal disorders, and cancer. Questions were weighted for a maximum score of 294 points. So we applaud everyone for all the hard work that they did to support the Worksite Wellness Program. The following are the companies based on their level of award and the number of years that they've won. We saw a record number of first-time winners this year, so we're really excited to see that and to share those winners with you today. So now I'm going to pass it to Alex Brooks, who's the Programming Co-Chair and Account Manager with Integrated Corporate Wellness Solutions. So Alex, take it away.
Okay, so I think that means I need to find Alex. Let's see here. Hang on one second. Alex, can you unmute yourself? And Candace, do you recall what number she was?
You should be caller 1.
She should be caller 1. Okay. Well, hang on. Let's see if I can get caller 1 back on the. Okay, Alex.
Okay, got it. I
There
called
we
in
go.
from my phone, so thank you.
No worries.
Hey,
We're navigating through the technology.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Becca, for shooting that over to me. Normally, I would say to hold your applause till the end, but since we're all virtual and muted, feel free to applaud as much as you want on your end. But we're going to get started. So we have 4 levels of awards: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. We're going to get started with the bronze level winners right now. So in the bronze category, we had 5 total winners. So congratulations to Kentucky Medical Services Foundation. They are a first-time winner. Charter Communications, SMB Customer Care Commerce Crossings location, another first-time winner. Republic Bank, another first-time winner. And you'll see we had a lot of first-time winners this year. Wiley Education Services, 4-time winner. And Home of the Innocents, 2-time winner. So congrats again to all of our bronze level winners. Yay, I love hearing that.
I'm one of the few that you can hear, so I might as well add some claps.
Yes.
Congratulations.
All right, silver winners. We had a total of 5 winners in this category as well. Congratulations to Prudential Heating and Air Conditioning, first-time winner. To DDW, another first-time winner. To M&M Cartage Company, first-time winner. Argy Financial Group, 3-time winner. And to University of Kentucky Federal Credit Union, first-time winner. Congrats again to all these silver level winners. Love it, Matt. All right, moving on to our gold winners. In this category, we had 9. So, congrats to Trilogy Health Services, a 5-time winner. To Aetna Better Health of Kentucky, first-time winner. Park Community Credit Union, 5-time winner. C&I Engineering, first-time winner. Bluegrass Airport, first-time winner. The Hardin Memorial Health, a 4-time winner. To InsuraMax, 7-time winner. Kentucky Lottery Corporation, 4-time winner. And to Assured Partners, a 5-time winner. Congrats again to all of our gold level winners. All right, and to our final category, platinum level. Now there were 18 total winners in this category. So let's kick it off. Congratulations to All Good Food Company, a 3-time winner. American Printing House for the Blind, 4-time winner. Apris, a 2-time winner. Baptist Health Floyd, 7-time winner. Christian Care Community, 6-time winner. Dow, 7-time winner. The GE Appliances, 3-time winner. Humana, 7-time winner. LG&E and KU Energy, 7-time winner. Louisville Metro Government, 7-time winner. Musselman Hotels, Hampton Inn, 2-time winner. Norton Healthcare, 7-time winner. Sumitomo Electric Wiring System, 5-time winner. Suntan City, first-time winner. The Sullivan University System, 6-time winner. U of L Health, first-time winner. UPS Airlines, 5-time winner. And last but not least, West Kentucky Rural Electric Cooperative, 2-time winner. So congrats to all of those award winners for all those categories. We're really impressed with you. Hey, virtual round of applause.
And by the way, it's worth mentioning that I think at my count, there were 6 companies there that, you mentioned were 7-time winners, starting in 2014, which is about the first time that we basically have records for what the awards were. And so, I mean, really those companies, we tip of a hat to those, because they've really not only consistently had a great worksite wellness program, but they've made it a point to be active and participate in this program, which encourages others to do the same. And so a lot of the first-time winners, honestly, probably were influenced by those 7-time winners, having seen that they won awards. So thank you to to those 6 companies, which I think we actually, just a quick, is InsuraMax and Baptist Health Floyd, Dow, Humana, LG&E, KU Energy, Louisville Metro Government, and Norton Healthcare. So again, congratulations to those as well.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so we're going to keep it going. We're going to present the Fleur Award. So 6 years ago, the planning committee actually created this special award, the Fleur for companies who excel in their wellness efforts by hitting their wellness targets and goals. We are really excited to continue this award again this year to 4 outstanding organizations within the size categories of small, medium, large, and very large. So these organizations, they achieved high scores on the Center for Disease Control Health scorecard. Not only that, but they also provided evidence and documentation to support their efforts. And here's what some of that criteria and the process looks like. Top management support. Now, this is critical for success and continued implementation of wellness programs. And this includes an established mission and vision statement, along with a defined plan for ongoing development and purpose for support. And then there's program variety. And that's the utilization of various means for extending the wellness programs, including lunch and learns, webinars, assessments, incentive reward programs, and classes. Community engagement. And these are all things like activities, including walkathons, service-related projects like the Mayor's Give a Day of Service, and other team-building opportunities. And finally, targeted improvement increases. And that's highlighted growth and improvement. For example, high increase in participation rates and other success stories. Now, in our 6 years of extending this recognition, we've had some stellar organizations that made many significant contributions to our community. And this year's recipients, well, they are no different. These outstanding organizations continue to inspire other companies toward wellness success. So let's get started on announcing our 2020 recipients. In the small category, which is less than 100 employees, congratulations to Bluegrass Airport, located in Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah, virtual round of applause. In the medium category, now that's 100 to 249 employees. Congratulations to Kentucky Lottery Corporation. In the large category, and that's 250 to 749 employees. Congratulations to Assured Partners. And finally, in the very large category, now that's 750 plus employees. Congratulations to Baptist Health Floyd. Amazing job, and congratulations to all of these Fleur de Lis Award winners. And now I'm going to pass it over to Becca again. She's going to continue with the Workplace Agility Awards. Great, thank you, Alex. Appreciate that, and congrats again to all the winners. I'm really excited for all of you and the hard work that you put into this. So now I'm going to move on to the new award that we have for this year, which is the Workplace Agility Award. So due to the extenuating situation we all face with COVID-19, the board decided to ask a really special question this year, and hopefully that will be the only year that we have to do this, which was, how did your wellness program adapt due to the COVID-19 pandemic? What challenges did you overcome and how? And what were the results? The responses were incredible, and hats off to all of you and the hard work that you put into maintaining your commitment to your employees. There were so many standouts to the review committee, but here are the winners and some of the highlights of their activities. Some of the highlights of our first winners' actions include a COVID-19 site on their homepage with health and wellness information that was updated weekly along with a newsletter. The president also sent out a weekly memo that highlighted the safety and health of their associates and their families during this time and encouraged them to join together to let all associates know that they are welcome and respected. And respect was a big word that we heard from Tori earlier today. And perhaps the best example of the success of this company is a quote from one of their associates. "I just wanted to send a quick thank you for continuing to focus on health and wellness. The temperature program gave me peace of mind during the early stages of tracking COVID-19. The exercise points have been a great motivator for me to keep moving during this time. I'm happy to report that I feel healthier than I was when the pandemic started." So a big congratulations to Sumitomo Electric Wiring Systems. Yay. Thank you. And now on to our next winner. So early in the pandemic, this company created a wellness competition that included things like self-care, physical wellness, and mental wellness. While there were scores involved, the scores did not dictate the winners of this weekly or overall prizes. So leadership really wanted to provide great prizes like a Peloton and Apple Watches. In addition, they provided a $250 reimbursement for ergonomic supplies from working from home to support all new remote employees. In addition, employees were given a lot of flexibility in their work schedules to accommodate for home responsibilities. And to help with self-care, they were given half days on Fridays during the summer to allow them to recharge and spend time with their families. A big congratulations to Wiley Education Services. Our next winner did an exceptional job of adapting during COVID. They immediately identified numerous resources to support employees through security, health, and purpose initiatives. They then focused on supporting employees through childcare support, food insecurity, and developed a new care shelf program where employees donate food to the campus and employees with needs can discreetly take what they need from the shelf. A big congratulations to Trilogy Health Services. All right, and our last recipient did a phenomenal job with their activities. Some of the highlights are they provided daily fitness options during COVID-19 by sharing daily workouts with partners like the YMCA of Greater Louisville, Planet Fitness, and Norton Sports Health, so employees can stay active. They launched a text program to bring inspirational and supportive messages. They participated in chalk art on the sidewalks of their facilities to provide uplifting pictures, quotes, and sayings as frontline employees entered and exited the facilities. Their team stuffed and delivered over 1,200 care packages for employees on the front lines of COVID-19, as well as those behind the scenes supporting caregivers that included massage rollers and other wellness swag. A big congratulations to Norton Healthcare. So congratulations again to all of our winners. Again, the work that you did was so phenomenal, and there was a lot of great submissions for this award. So we wish we could give it to everyone, and everyone probably deserves some award for all of the work they did getting through this this time right now. I am now going to pass it back over to Alex. She's the president of the Worksite Wellness Council, and Alex is going to close it out for us.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we finally got one. Okay. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that applied to the awards this year and extend a congratulations to all of you for all of the hard work you've done and helping to keep your workplaces healthy and safe in these very unusual times. You should all be tremendously proud of the work that you've done within our local employers and within the community. I also want to give a big thank you to President McClure. We very much appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share your knowledge and experience with us, and we will be sure to take all of this back to our employers and our companies. We are working to coordinate the awards pickup currently, so you will be able to pick those up at Milestone. Do you all remember that place that we used to congregate at 6 months ago? We'll be sending out an email with more information about that when you can come pick those up. Look for that within the next couple of weeks. We did want to remind everyone that part of the participation in today's event includes an LSHRM continuing education component. So we will have certificates ready to send out probably within a week. I would also like to extend a very special thank you to all of our sponsors for your support throughout this year as well. We definitely couldn't do all that we do without you and your help. Thank you for your continued interest in the Worksite Wellness Council of Louisville. Lastly, one more thank you, and this is a huge one. Thank you to our board of directors. You all have done an incredible job and have stepped in to make this big change of events a great success. So thank you to all of you. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your week. Please find some peace this weekend and stay safe and continue on bettering your workplaces. We will see you next month for our monthly conversation, and you will not want to miss it. Thank you, everyone.